Hi everyone, my name is Lena and welcome to my bathroom. As you can see, I have styled my hair. I have my product in it, but it's still wet. And why is it wet? Because I haven't diffused it yet. I am going to diffuse it though, and there's a few reasons why. The first of which being it is finally autumn, and more than just name, it is starting to cool off. The leaves are changing color and I couldn't be happier, especially after just moving back from Phoenix. This time of year in Phoenix is still pretty warm, so I'm ecstatic to finally get to experience the fall weather again. I finally get to pull out my fall wardrobe, my long sleeves, my darker colors. Pumpkin spice lattes are back and I'm so happy about all of it. But the biggest downside of autumn is, one, the cold air is great, but not when your hair is wet, because it just freezes you. Two, autumn tends to come with a lot of wind. And if we go outside with wet hair, that wind is going to make it really frizzy. So by diffusing it, we're going to speed up the process. It's going to allow us a little bit more freedom. And not only that, but even in the best circumstances, a blow dryer with a diffuser is going to give you more volume and it's going to give you more definition, especially if you know these tips and tricks. So I'm going to go ahead and show you a few. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my blow dryer and give you a look here. There's a few things we're looking for when we have a blow dryer. So this one I have is Xtava. And it doesn't really matter what brand you use. The important thing is, one, this has two controls for speed and for heat. The lowest is going to be your cold. Then you have warm and hot. Now I always use this on warm, but you want to make sure you have that level of control, because we don't want to use too much heat on our hair. If we use too much heat, you can damage it. And you can tell if it's too hot, because if it's making your scalp feel like it's burning, it's damaging your hair. So using the warm setting is definitely preferred. And then having a level control here for how much air is coming out. If you have too much airflow, you can create more frizz. So having control over that is definitely a benefit. Now let me show you my diffuser. This I think is the Orchid. I'll link this down in the description. But the benefit of this is you can see a lot of air holes in there. That's going to allow for the air to move through your hair better, to dry better, but also the benefit, it's a very large cup. I mean, like, look how big that is. So it's gonna cup more of your hair, it's going to cover more of your hair when you're not cupping it. And that's gonna give you a lot of benefit here. But first, I'll go ahead and show you the process and we can go over how I go about it, what I do to get those curls, and kind of why I do what I do. Because there's definitely a reason to the madness. Now, let me go ahead and pop this on and I'm gonna go ahead and show you where we start. This method I'm using is called the Hover Diffuse method. Now this was coined by Mell, so if you haven't seen her videos, do check her out. She's fantastic. She has so much information. I learned a lot from her. But the idea here is you're hovering over your hair. You want to try to avoid touching it as much as possible. And we are going to go in starting at our roots. You want to do this gently, so you see I kind of roll my head here. And you want to dry the back of your head, the sides of your head, and really just focus on your roots. And what this is going to do is it's going to help add volume. One, because the roots are really hard to get at later. When you do this first thing, you make sure that your roots are really truly dry. When you wait longer into your process, they may not dry all the way. So that's going to make your hair a little bit flat. But you see I roll my head here to the other side, really trying to focus on gently moving my hair and shaking it out to situate it so the curls are where I would want them to be. And I notice here that my curls are not vertical. You want them kind of aimed upward. I come in here with my fingers in a second and kind of just shuffle them up. You do want to try to avoid touching your hair as much as possible, but sometimes you have to. But drying your hair with it in the opposite direction of what you would wear it is going to help add volume to your hair. So now I'm just going in and checking each side, seeing which ones are dry. So I've decided those two sides are dry. Now I'm just kind of hovering over this last side. And you want to do this a few inches away. You don't want to go too far, but you don't want to get too close again because you don't want to touch the actual hair. But this is going to help dry it without getting frizz too. So I've decided here this last bit is dry, and we're going to go on to the next portion of drying. Now that our roots are dry, we're going to move on to the lengths of our hair. So here we're still hovering over the lengths. We don't want to touch it quite yet, but we're hovering and moving our blow dryer back and forth, and just not really focusing on one spot yet, because this is going to really help with any heat damage that you might get. And it's going to help decrease frizz too. Too much air movement at once is really going to frizz your hair up. So here I gently roll my head to the other side. By moving your hair back and forth throughout this process, you're really just lifting your roots up, which is going to give you extra volume. And you can see here to some degree too, I'm not really focusing as much on the ends. The ends of your hair are going to dry the quickest. So I'm really focusing on the mid of my hair, the mid lengths, and just running that diffuser over them back and forth, going from underneath to on top. And then flipping it back and forth continuously, just to really make sure that I'm getting it as dry as I can. And occasionally I will go in with my fingers and kind of just touch it. And what you're looking for a little bit is a gel cast. If you have a heavy enough gel for a gel cast, then that's your step to move on to your next level. Here I don't have quite that gel cast yet. I haven't been going long enough. That can take 5 to 10 minutes to get that. But it really is important to focus on doing that, because that gel cast is going to help protect the curl shape and the curl pattern. Here I'm checking on my baby because she's kind of just watching and chilling there, but we're just going back and forth until we're happy with where it sits. I've been hovering over my hair for a while, and you can see that it's actually already started to work towards adding definition. The last thing I like to do is kind of roll it in front of my face like this, just to make sure that I'm getting any spots that I may have missed. When you're only tossing it from one side to the other, you can sometimes miss a few spots, but this really allows me to get access to all of it and make sure that I have a nice gel cast. So here I'm going to go in with my fingers and just check to see if it's dry enough, if there's a gel cast. And so I'm just touching my hair, really seeing what it feels like, and I've decided, yes, there is a gel cast. So we're going to move on to the next step. Now that I have my gel cast, I'm going to use the cup of my diffuser to really bring those curls up to my scalp. And this is going to help with a few things. One is going to help with definition, because the weight of the water in your hair is going to stretch those curls out. So by cupping them towards your scalp, you're really taking that weight off of them. The other thing this is going to do is it's going to help with volume. Again, by taking the weight off of your curls, you're letting it dry in a different position, so your roots aren't taking as much strain. And this later on is really going to help with the volume that we're looking for. So I've been drying my hair for a little while now, and you can see I'm really focusing on the movement here. I'm moving from side to side, the different sides of my head, gently tossing my hair back and forth, and I'm cupping first the back, then the middle, and just really trying to get every area. And by drying it up as high as you can on top of your head, you're also helping with that volume up top instead of just on the sides of your head. So you see, especially in the front here, I really focus on getting it up on top of my head. And this just really helps with that volume. Not only that, but it's going to help obviously dry the hair on top of your head. And again, we just continue moving it back and forth and getting it where we want it to be, how dry we want it. And you don't have to dry it 100%. I could leave it here and just walk away and let it finish drying. But the more you dry it like this, the more definition volume you're going to get. Really, the main focus here is that you're just going to want to continue to move your hair back and forth to really help with volume. And you're going to really want to continue moving that diffuser, that cup, from location to location. And again, that's going to help with volume and such, but it helps with heat too. Now, here you can hear my baby is starting to fuss a little bit, so I'm going to bring it down and kind of show her to you. She helps me out quite a bit. You can see she's kind of confused. She never really quite knows what to make of it when I blow dry my hair. She kind of just chills, and sometimes she'll talk to me, but having that funny thing on my head is always kind of weird. So she'll just kind of give me funny looks. But anyway, I digress. So we'll get back to hair stuff here. Cupping it and continuing to move that cup is going to help with any heat damage. If you leave the cup on one spot too long, you increase your risks of damaging it, but by continuously moving it from spot to spot and side to side, you're really going to give yourself the best chance to have your healthy hair. Now you can see I'm almost done here. I'm just checking to see if there's any last little bits of wet spots. The back still has a little bit of dampness here, so I'm gonna go ahead and put my diffuser back there for a little bit, just to really try and get as much possible out of it. And between these bits, I did air dry it a little bit because I had to put my daughter down for a nap and feed her and all that kind of stuff. But I'm really just finishing off here with the diffuser just to make sure everything's really dry because I have to go out and do errands. And like I said earlier, I want my hair dry when I leave the house so it doesn't get super frizzy with the wind. And you just keep moving your diffuser, keep moving it back and forth and putting it in different spots until you're happy with where it comes out. So here I'm just going to flip it one more time. I'm kind of checking now to see where it's damp. And again, like I mentioned earlier, the mid-lengths have a tendency to be pretty hard to dry. The ends dry really fast, the mids take a little more. So you can just come in with your diffuser at the mids and just hover it there for a while until you're happy with the level of dryness. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the way that this feels. You can continue however much you want. You can air dry part of it, you can blow dry part of it, but I'm pretty happy with the way this turns out. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn this over and show you my final results. All right, my hair is 100% dry and we're gonna go ahead and add the final touches. Now, we wanna make sure that at this point our hair is 100% dry. If you're anything like me, maybe you get bored about 80% of the way through and you let it air dry the last 20%. You want to let it air dry that last 20% if you are going to go that route. If you don't want to blow dry your hair the entire time, that's fine. I don't typically end up going all the way to 100% a lot of the time because my baby starts to get bored or she wakes up from a nap or, you know, whatever the circumstances are, sometimes I get bored. And that's okay. But you want to make sure before you move on to your final steps that your hair is 100% dry. So we'll go in and kind of feel it and just really make sure. And my hair is dry. So I'm gonna go ahead and go in. I mentioned this in my styling video, but I'm gonna mention it again. I have this Daily Hydration Finishing Oil Serum by Shea Moisture. And for our final touches, we're gonna use this to help break up any gel cast that's still in our hair. The blow dryer, if you have kind of a medium hold gel, will get most of that cast out. But this will help with some of those flyaways or those little kind of stringy pieces that sometimes will hold on to that gel cast. And this will also help with any frizz, and it really just helps seal in the moisture too. So we're gonna go ahead and run our hands over our hair. We can go ahead at this point and go ahead and scrunch it, because as I mentioned before, you don't wanna do too much touching while it's still damp. We'll go in and just really make sure that all the gel cast is gone. And when we're happy with where it's at gel cast wise, we can go in and shake it up. And this is gonna help again with the volume. The blow dryer is gonna give us a lot of it, but this is gonna really help. So you can already see, yeah, look at that. And you see, again, that definition, that shine, it's maybe a little bit frizzy, but overall it looks really good. You're not gonna get this much definition and volume air drying it, so if you want that definition volume, diffusing is definitely the way to go. And I'm really happy with these results. I'll go ahead and link any products I use down in the description box below. So if you're curious, take a look. And if you have any questions and comments, as always, leave them below and I'll see you next time.